Hey everyone. Now, this is actually a fun video that I wanted to do for like 2 days now only. It's just I kept thinking, should I do it? And eventually I decided, yeah. And as the title implies, I'm going to be reading the reviews to one of my latest fanfiction. So, backstory. My birthday was on August 19th, and on the 20th, on the 19th I got this. I only started playing it on the 20th though, because I got it pretty late on the 19th and I was tired, and the last thing I wanted to do was play this game while I was tired. So, because I've been wanting this game for over a year by the time I finally got it. Anyway, this game's incredible, by the way. 360 plus hours so far, which is nothing compared to some of the people that I've seen. Anyway, so 2 cool things happened out of this game. 3 cool things. 1, I've discovered another amazing, incredible game that I love. 2, I joined a Discord just on a whim because I saw it being shared around on Tumblr. It's a Discord specifically about this game and the original one, which is actually somewhere here that I'm stacking the mic on. And 3, I've written fanfiction again for it. Like I've gone back to writing fanfiction. I love fanfiction. I love writing fanfiction. I like reading it. It's fun. It's a good pastime. And apparently, if my reviews are to be believed, I'm pretty darn good at it. So why stop doing what you like? Anyway, so I wanted to read the reviews of my latest fanfiction, just because I think it'd be fun, and give some additional thoughts into it. Because for a lot of these, specifically from one guy, I already gave him a bunch of replies, but maybe I could go a bit more in depth into things or that. So this might be a long video, but I just want to have fun. I just want to talk about it. So I will give some background on my fanfiction in case you haven't read it, which I wouldn't be surprised, because it's in the Xenoblade fandom, which is pretty small. You know, I have like a few hundred views on it. I think like 600 actually, which honestly isn't that much, but that's fine. I'll give you some background. So the story is about a character named Janix. And in the Xenoblade story, you play as a character named Cross. He's the created character, and he wakes up in Starfall Basin, and then and then they join Blade. They do all the events of the story. This fanfic takes place after the story of the game, and Janix is found in a life pod, much like Cross, but elsewhere. And she has her own. Unlike Cross, she's not forgotten everything. She remembers everything about Earth and all that stuff. She's her own separate character. That I created for fun. She's also the character I created for my second run of the game. I was really excited for my second run. Quick side note, because one of the female voice options that you can give is for Kira Buckland, who I've followed her activities since Newgrounds. Since Newgrounds was where I spent most of my time on the internet on. So it was really cool to be able to play an awesome game that I've been wanting to play for forever, and to play it with a character using the voice of Kira Buckland, who she's great. I love, like, her voice. She's been everywhere, too, as of late. When she announced that role, it was alongside 3 other roles, I think, at various games that were really cool. I think one of the latest Tales of games, too. I'm getting out of hand. So, the story, just to sum it up, Skells Love is about Skells Love, which these are Skells, and you know what love is. And it's about Janix getting together with Alexa, which is another character in Xenoblade Chronicles X, an actual character. And boop, pictures everywhere, yay. There's issues, conflict, of course. And the main conflict comes from Janix's side, which we'll probably get into with the comments. So anyway, here's the first comment. Boop. Left by one Cormac Ravenstaff, aka the dude who leaves comments on fucking everything I write, aka my favorite guy in the world. Anyway, so he says, another multi-chap, eh? Which, yes, it is. With how it's spelled, I'm surprised her nickname isn't J. For the first chapter, when Irina, another character in the game, refers to Janix through a nickname, it's just the letter J. After he said that, I actually changed it, and so every other time Irina talks to Janix, it's always J, J-A-Y. Yo, I totally feel for Fry getting shot down by Cruz like that. Them damn people in relationships. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, too. So, because Fry, once again, it's a lot easier if you have experience with the game, but if you don't, Fry is basically trying to get Cruz to hang out with him. Cruz is in a relationship with Elma, and so he's like, not now, man, and yeah, that happens a lot. People want to hang, but it's like, nah, I got a date, and then they don't want to hang. So I thought that was pretty good, and I assume Cruz ain't cheating on Elma with Alexa, and the tag characters mean Jay and Alexa are hooking up. Yes. So in fanfiction, you can tag the stories for up to, I think, 4 characters that are featured in the story. For this story, all I have tagged is Avatar Cross and Alexa, and as a pairing. And my previous stories were Avatar Cross and Elma as a pairing, which was Cruz, my first cross that I created. Originally, I wanted to put both of them, like one tag for Avatar and Alexa and one tag for Avatar and Elma, but apparently you can't do that. You can't use the same character in multiple stuff, which is kind of dumb. I think you can do a 3-way though, and possibly a 4-way, I guess, which, you know, is fine, but whatever. I mean, I kind of understand it. That's fine, but no, Cruz would never cheat on Elma. If the idea of ever cheating on Elma comes to your mind, and you have issues, you know, big issues. So yeah, that's beside the point. So yeah, the first chapter was like, I think the easiest time I ever had writing a chapter for this story. Good time. All I did was it was basically just I needed to get everyone reintroduced to Janix really quickly and show that she's a workaholic, and then also show that she's not okay. So, and how I did that in this chapter was I had her run into a Skell, like the story implies, one of these guys, specifically a construction Skell. They're the ones around the city in the game, New LA. That's what the city's called. And they build stuff, and she ran into it and had a super huge panic attack for the end of the chapter, which was pretty bad, but you know, that happens because it does. Anyway, onward. Very pleased with Ruby so far, especially the new budget. Oh yeah, me and this guy also like to talk about a lot of stuff, not really my story, usually games. I think we talked about a lot. Was it Xenoblade we were talking about before too? I don't remember, but like the original one, but I do know that we like to talk about Ruby as well, because we both watch it. So yeah, he's enjoying it, new budget, cool shit, and I agree. Like if you see my reactions, I love it, it looks amazing. I also just want to express how pleased I am that you're going with another female-female pairing. Glad for the representation. That's an important line that I think so, because I've written a lot of fanfiction over the years, and quite a few of it has a lot of female-female pairings, and as of lately I actually made a few male-male pairings, but I never did any of it to represent anything. I did it because that's what I wanted to do. Whether it was Heather and Nephne in Fire Emblem, or Alexa and Janix now. I just want to write those stories because I want to write them, which I think is the best reason to ever want to do anything. And especially for representation, which people are all up in arms about these days. You know, that if you don't do it, you're a horrible person, and if you do it, you're still a horrible person because you didn't do it right. So for me, I just do it because it's fun. And that's really it. I enjoy those kinds of stories. And I like writing them. Anyway. Great, we've met our other lead in this fic. Excellent, yes, because Alexa actually was in Chapter 2. She was not in Chapter 1. She was, actually. 1 second. Ooh, a shared past of some sort. Interesting. So, when I read that, I was a bit confused as to what he meant. Because in Chapter 1, like I said, Janix has a panic attack, and so she kind of falls into a fetal position. She's just crying. When Alexa runs across her and, like, tries to be like, hey, everything's gonna be alright. You know, like a nice person, like she is. And before she leaves, she says, my name is Alexa, what's yours? But of course, Janix doesn't say anything because she's in the middle of a panic attack. And so Alexa just tells her, you know, tomorrow will be better, and she leaves. So in this chapter, they actually meet face to face, and they introduce each other, and she says, my name's Alexa. And all of a sudden, Janix is like, wait, as in the person from yesterday? She doesn't tell her that, though. She just asks Alexa, have we met before? And Alexa's like, no, because, you know, Janix was in the fetal position, so she couldn't see her. All she saw was someone on the ground with red hair. It could be anyone. So yeah, that was really the shared past. I don't think these two characters have any other sort of past on Earth or on the White Whale. I could be wrong. I'll have to look that up. And by look that up, I mean actually think about it and see if I'll implement that in a future chapter. But no, that was basically a reference to Chapter 1. Anyway, onward. You may not know where this is cut off. You may not know where Chapter 3 is going to go, but I know it'll be great now that these two are together on screen. Chapter 3 sucked to write. I hated it. I have this issue with fanfiction where some chapters just don't want to be written. I try to write them, and they're just not coming out good. They're awkward as hell. Chapter 2, meeting. As it implies, mainly focuses on Janix and Alexa meeting and hanging out for the day. And it was cool and nice and all, and it ended really nice, and I liked it, but then I didn't know what to do with 3. In my head, I actually have written down outlines for future chapters, which right now are turning out to be chapters 8 and 9. it could be pushed further if I continue putting in chapters beforehand. But I'm like, how do I get to chapter 8? And that's always the hardest thing for my fanfiction. And this one, very evident. At the time I was writing this, I had no idea where 3 was going. I hated it, actually. And he says this funny thing about, it's great these two are together on screen. Every time I talk about fanfiction with my sisters, I always say that on screen, even though it's not on screen, it's in writing, you know, but I understand what he means, and I use that terminology a lot, so I just thought that was pretty entertaining. I was gonna say something else about one of these comments here. Got nothing. Okay, moving on. Maybe it'll come to me later. Chapter 3, Day, which, as the title implies, is just a day in the life of Janix as she goes around. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say, Janix and Alexa also have a different, what's the word? Dynamic than most people that I've ever met. I mean, that I've ever met. What the fuck's wrong with it? And what that is that normally for all my relationships, it's usually one person being very awkward and quiet and holding in all their thoughts while the other person is either blissfully unaware or doing the exact same thing. And they just can't get it out, you know? And I've done that for almost all my pairings in one way or another. Be it it's the rougher person who doesn't want to say anything, or the quieter person who doesn't want to say anything, or both. And I feel like it's really one note, and I guess that it is, because that's what it is. But I've always enjoyed doing it. I've never read any complaints about any of my relationships. I might have gotten some, because I think there's some reviews I haven't read, but I'm pretty sure there are none. With Janix and Alexa, their relationship is that Janix falls in love with Alexa the moment she lays eyes on her in chapter 2. She sees her, she's like, oh my god, she's beautiful, how do I get together with her? And so Janix is very different from all my other relationships, that she's blatantly flirting with and trying to get together with Alexa at all times. And Alexa is just kind of unaware, which is actually something that points out in the game. When there's another NPC in the game that Alexa knows that is like, you're trying to steal my boyfriend, or the guy that she's interested in, and Alexa's like, huh? And you know, so based off that, she actually turns to you, the player character. It's like, what's she so upset about? Because she does not understand. Like, the other character, I forgot her name, could yell at Alexa that you're stealing my boyfriend. Alexa would be like, what? You know, it just, she's, what's the word? She just doesn't get it. That kind of thing. Anyway, so I think that's fun to play with in this story. Anyway, comment. Gotta love Sawano's skill at composing. Hiroyuki Sawano is the composer for the soundtrack of Xenoblade Chronicles X. And he's done a bunch of anime in the past that a bunch of people like. And like Kill la Kill comes to the top of my head, I'm pretty sure. And the main reason he brought that up was because I mentioned in my author's note that I love the soundtrack. And I sing along to it all the time. Every time a vocal track comes up, especially if it's in the forest, I can't help but sing along with it. I'm that big of a nerd. I've seriously considered actually singing and recording myself singing one of the songs, even though I know it'll be terrible. Whether or not that'll happen, we'll see. Those are interesting names for her crewmates. So, in this chapter I had, let me keep reading. That's some PTSD going on there, worse than I expected. I like this chapter more than the others, mostly because I have a thing for psychological things such as PTSD. They're fascinating, and they are. So that's the big conflict of the story. And it's another reason why the name is Skells Love. Skells, Alexa loves Skells. She's obsessed with them. This is very evident from the game. She's called the Skell Nut. She loves these things. Janix, on the other hand, is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as a result of the events of the game. So, background on that, the game begins with the White Whale, the ship that humanity, or at least most the humanity that you're following, is on, being shot down by aliens. And of course, during that battle where the aliens are trying to shoot it down, people are defending it. And Janix is one of the defenders of the White Whale. So she was there firsthand as the aliens were destroying it and tearing apart all the other humans that were trying to defend it. She saw all that shit going down. And that's what she's afraid of. That's what caused her PTSD. There's finer points to it. He says her crewmates. She went into that battle with her closest possible family. He says interesting names because I admit I gave them weird names. This game is based on America and Earth, so the names should be normal. I eventually made it so it was General Kumon is the head. That's Hideo Kumon. Then there's Tai Alistair, Aaron Hills, Sagittarius Fair, and Alto Moore. Those are her crewmates. There's more. There's a few more, but I don't need to name them all. And there's one other one specifically that I'm avoiding naming for story reasons. But all of them died, and she was in the middle of the battle while they were all dying. They were transmitting radio calls being like, this is it, I'm going, you know. And there were screams, there was explosions, there was horrible, terrible things happening, and she lost her entire family. And they all eventually, and the last one sacrificed themselves, and this just holy hell went loose up in that battle to protect the white whale. And because of that, she has fear of Skells. So it's the exact opposite of Alexa. And like I said, it's not just a normal fear. At the end of the first chapter, when she sees the one Skell, she falls into a complete panic attack and into a fetal position, is incapable of moving, and hardly even able to talk to Alexa when she first visits her to try to take care of her. So, yeah, very terrible post-traumatic stress disorder. Very bad. Of course, I don't even, that PTSD is never good. And there was another thing that went on in this chapter that's slightly important, and that's that it looks like Janix has some sort of heart problems, so to speak. Spoiler for the game. I don't even know. Should I drop the spoiler? I don't know. But heart problems, sort of, kind of thing. But those get explained later in like chapter 8, which hasn't come out yet. So yeah, that was chapter 3, Team. No, Day. Chapter 4 is Team. So let's go on to the next review. This is fun. I like this. Just talking about stuff. You sure do know how to crank out quality and quantity. I admire you for that. Ha! Didn't even notice those mistakes. Yeah, I don't know if I'm good at cranking out quality and quantity. I'm trying to think. Every chapter of this story has come out like 3 chapters apart. Sorry, 3 days apart, with the exception of one that was 4 days apart. And they're, with the exception of the first chapter, which is I think like 3,000 words or something like that, 2,000, I don't know, it's short, maybe 4,000. All the other chapters are 5,000, except for 5, which was 8,000. And so I guess 5,000 word chapters every 3 days is a pretty good rate. I've always rather. The thing is, I learned this a long time ago on fanfiction, is that you don't submit your chapters as soon as they're done. You gotta stack them up, have a lot in waiting, so that you can release it to some sort of regular release schedule. The last fanfiction I did, Stay Sharp, I finished it before I even started posting it. This one, I'm still in the process of writing it. As I've said, I'm on chapter 7 right now, trying to make sure it's perfect. And it's hard. It's really hard. The mistakes he's talking about is Alexa. She has her boss, who basically, they do all their work together and, you know, techie stuff, is named Tika, with a T. But in the story, I called her Mika a few times, with an M. I eventually corrected that once I actually met her in the game again, and realized, oh shit, I got it wrong. And the other thing is that New LA, there are 2 exits to New LA, Eastgate, Westgate. And I got which one was which incorrect. The Eastgate is the one in the administrative district, and the Westgate the one in the industrial district. And I had them totally flipped for the entire story up until this part. He didn't notice, I didn't notice until I played the game again. I was like, oh wait. Got some more American names this time around. Yeah, like, you know, Kumon, Sagittarius, Alto, Tai, Aaron. Not exactly American or normal. I feel like giving them the last names, which I eventually did, made it more American. But this time around, we got 3 new characters: Bills, Tyler, and Herman. So the whole point to Bills, Tyler, and Herman, because chapter 4 is called Team, and it's about Janix meeting her team, because one of the big conflicts in the story is that the characters are going to go to Oblivia, or are planning to go to Oblivia to find an evil alien outpost and destroy it. And the thing is, they haven't found it yet, so they're like preparing, and they're all on edge. And Janix decided, yeah, I'll take part in this mission, and so she's been given a team: Bills, Herman, and Tyler. I feel you, Bills. I said Dills. I feel you, Bills. Fucking data probes. Yeah, I make some jokes in the story about the meta and funny things about Xenoblade itself. Specifically, Bills is complaining that the data probes that are all over the world are in really bad places. And if you play the game, you know that quite a few of them are. They're in really shitty spots. Like, are surrounded by ridiculous level enemies, and it's just really hard to get to them, and then you finally get to them and you're not at a level to trigger them, and it's bullshit. Should have gone with the girl, Jay, and yeah, she probably should have, because like Alexa works and lives out of the industrial district where the most Skells are in the entirety of New LA. And Janix, so at the end of chapter when Alexa's leaving, Janix is watching her leave. She's like, I kind of want to go with her, to hang with her, but I don't want to go to the industrial district at all. So she ends up not going with her, and she feels bad about it, but she can't help it. She hopes that one day she can, but it's not something she can control. She sees a Skell, it throws her into a panic. That's how this works. Jay is really a relatable character. Most writers here, myself included, haven't fully grasped the key quality yet in character building. Well done. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm not good at taking... What is it? I ignore most criticism because a lot of it that I've seen is dumb. I haven't gotten criticism in a long time. The only time I ever got criticism was for a story I wrote like 8 years ago that I don't even like that much anymore. So it's like, yeah, like one guy basically left me like 3 paragraphs of how I wonder if it was Ravenstaff actually, about how Fire Emblem New Emissaries was like, it was all right, but he like was losing interest through most of it. It's like he barely even finished it out, and I'm like, he was listing to me all the problems he had with it. I'm like, yeah, I wrote that story 8 years ago. I know all this. I know all the problems that it had. That's why I'm gonna rewrite it later. Of course, at the time I hadn't started rewriting it, and I'm like, the sequel's better. But I did eventually start rewriting it because I'm like, I like the concepts in the story, but I feel like I could do them better. And I've been rewriting it, and I definitely think it's a million times better. But on this, I don't really know if she's really all that relatable. Like, she's definitely one of my favorite OCs I've ever created. You know, it's just, she's loud, she's vulgar, she has such a proud personality, but she's hiding this incredibly broken self. She's suffering from PTSD and all this stuff. It's not easy for her. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, if he says so, then I'll take the compliment, of course. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to express my problems? I don't know. I really don't know what I'm trying to say. All I know is that he gave me a really big compliment, and I thank him for it. And I admit that I do love Janix, and I think she's one of my best OCs ever. So I guess we'll leave it at that. That was chapter 4, right? Yeah, team. Okay. Moving on to chapter 5. Chapter 5 is interesting because there are 3 reviews for chapter 5. So, nice. 2 from new people who have not reviewed the story yet. So let's check them out. Okay, from Brima Xander. I ship it. I'm sorry, but I can't help but ship Irina and Janix. I'm sorry. So, as you know, the story is about Janix and Alexa getting together. Irina is her best friend, basically. They're huge. They love each other, you know, in that way. They love hanging out because in a lot of ways they're similar, you know, in their loud, outspoken personalities. And chapter 5 is the 8,000 word chapter, Interceptors. I love this chapter. I think this chapter is some of my best work that I've ever written. And the chapter is about so many things. There's so many things in this chapter. I don't know how to summarize it. Basically, the Interceptors, which is Janix, Irina, and 2 other characters, Gwyn and Fry, go on a road trip from New LA all the way out to Silvalum, which is a continent far north, and to do some missions, kill some monsters, you know, hang out. And it goes from a really normal kind of hunky-dory, happy first half of the chapter, where the characters are talking to each other. Irina and Janix are going through, Janix and Alexa, this guy's getting me all confused, they're going through their flirting, slash, what the heck was she doing from Alexa's side, but Janix is very obviously flirting. And then it goes with the whole team across the road, and it's funny. You know, there's some intense moments, some moments with her and Elma talking about certain things, and then it ends with, holy shit, everything's gone to holy hell in a handbasket. And that is because for the first time another important character in the story actually experiences what's wrong with Janix. She completely falls apart at the end of the chapter and has a gigantic just breakdown. You know, just crying, wanting to die. It's all this horrible stuff that's coming that finally just broke out of her given the situation that she's in. The only person around is Irina, and she has to help her through this because she's her best friend. She has to do it, even if she herself doesn't think she's capable. She's gonna try it because she has to. And so that whole last part, I actually cried like a baby while I was writing it. I didn't think it would affect me as much as it did, because it's just a story. It's just fake. But she's a character I created. She's a character I love, and I'm running her through hell, you know? It's like some people on the Discord said, you have to break the characters that you love. And I did really hard at the end of this chapter, and I hated it. It was only the first time that I read that as I was writing the chapter, I was crying. After that, whenever I reread it, like I got misty, but I was still able to finish it out. So it was very good. We're gonna move on to the next review, which is also in this chapter. Can I scroll it up anymore? I can't scroll it up anymore. So whoops, I'll just get rid of this and I'll read it. You can trust me. These comments are real. I'm not making up this comment. This comment says, "Wow, you're the best fanfiction artist in the world." I'm just kidding. This comment says, I think someone actually left me something like that once, so I could be wrong though. This comment says it's from anonymous source, which I allow anonymous comments because I want comments. So this one says, "I'd comment about the kind of rushed nature of Alexa and Janix compared to Elma and Cruz, I assume from Stay Sharp. But then again, a man in a tree clan throne got wed in about as much time in-game as Janix has been awake, so who am I to say what's rushed when it comes to romance in this universe?" I'd like to disagree, because I feel like if a romance is rushed, that means that it's been completed. That at this one specific point, the characters are already together. You know, this is a review for Chapter 5. They're not. Janix is still overtly flirting with Alexa, and Alexa is still like... She responds to the flirting sort of in the kind of way that she gets a little, what's the word, flustered, because she's like, wow, no one gives me compliments like that. But she doesn't really think of it romantically too much. She's just like, wow, thanks, you know, that kind of stuff. They're not together yet, so I don't understand what he means by rushed. If they were together now, then yeah, that'd be rushed, because they can't be together yet. They have a lot to go through first. I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. Like I said, Janix fell in love with Alexa on first sight. So she's already done, and Alexa's yet to fall in love with Janix. So it's weird. I don't know what he means. And I'm not saying that in a way that he's wrong or anything like that. I'm just confused. But, you know, people are allowed to say what they say, and if it is rushed, I hope that it becomes not rushed as I do more chapters of them getting together. I don't know. We'll see what I can do. I actually don't know when they're getting together yet, and I've written up to Chapter 9. I'm definitely hooked on the relationship between Irina and Janix. I figured there was a reason the two interacted so much in the earlier chapters. They're best buds. And here that was me, not him, sorry. And here we get to see it start to come together and why you picked Irina. However, I'm hoping you bring that detail of Irina's life up and perhaps a little more genuine hope into Janix's life before the big gangland base raid. Okay, so a few things on that. He had me very conflicted. So what he's saying here is that he likes the relationship between these two. You know, I don't think it's romantically, unlike the other reviewer who ships it. Maybe it is, but what I do want to say is that they're best friends. But I feel like I've put more effort into Alexa and, oh my gosh, I'm getting all the names wrong, Irina and Janix's relationship than I did compared to Alexa and Janix's. Which is funny because they're the ones who are going to be carrying the story. Alexa's hardly in this chapter at all, though. And it makes me feel really bad. I actually have ideas for an Alexa-centric chapter. Oops, did I give that away? I feel horrible about it because I read the chapter, especially Chapter 6, and I'm like, you know, if I wanted to, I could change the story to be Irina Janix and alter a few of the scenes, and it'll be a perfect Irina Janix story. But I don't want that. I want it to be an Irina Alexa story. A Janix Alexa story. And it's, I don't know. I definitely do think that their relationship is really good, and that's... But the thing is that it was unintentional. If Janix had her way, she never would have exposed herself to Irina the way she does in this chapter. She just breaks down. She's had enough of holding it in. And she still refuses to share it with Alexa because she doesn't want to burden Alexa with it. So, I don't know. I think that that's, in and of itself, more experience between the characters. And the detail with Irina that... when he mentioned that, I'm like, ah, shit. I should have put that in Chapter 6. And then I'm like, well, I didn't publish Chapter 6 yet, so maybe I should put it in Chapter 6. In the end, I didn't put the little detail from Irina's life in Chapter 6. I decided to save it till later. To make kind of like a reference it to later, because sort of, I bring it up later in a way, and then maybe I'll go more in depth into it later. We'll see. It's also interesting to note that Alexa has two experience loss. It's not really talked about much, but she did lose 2 fellow outfitters during rapid misfire. Yet there's only been 1 person here to even touch on that fact in the fanfic. I think there's some potential in bonding in that. But then I also feel like I've been ghostwriting a part of this fic twice now, so I'll just shut up now before telling you to keep up the good work. I assume in his mind what he imagined he was doing was, since he told me these 2 things, I'd be forced to put them in the story in the next chapter. And he's not wrong. I really wanted to. But ultimately I decided, no, I like the way the chapter is now, and if I put the portion of Irina's past in there, I need to alter it or change some dialogue or remove some scenes that I really like the way that they play out now. And the second one, I actually totally forgot about that. But he's right. In Alexa's second Affinity mission, 2 of her fellow outfitters are killed by the aliens. And yeah, so I could definitely use that, and I definitely will in the future sometime. So thanks for that. I totally forgot. Granted, I'm playing the game right now, so I probably would pass Rapid Misfire and be like, I could use this because I feel like the story is going to take a while. I don't mind suggestions, you know. What else? Oh yeah, what he said there about that he hopes that I bring a little more hope into Alexa's life. What kind of hope? Because I'm trying to, how do I put this? She's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder very badly. Things are not okay, and it's like, what hope could I possibly give her? I've already had Irina spend so much time trying to tell her that everything is going to be alright, but it's not something you can fix, you know? But I'm trying to think about it. She'll have happier moments, of course, only to be destroyed again in the future, but that's how the story goes. I want it to, it's gonna reach a happy ending. I'm a sucker for happy endings. I think, like, open-ended endings or endings that are bittersweet are dumb. And I feel like too many people are doing horrible endings nowadays, or like bad endings where not everything goes right, terrible things happen, tragedy, and I don't like that. I want to end my story on a good note. There can be a lot of tragedy and terrible things on the way, but it has to end happy. It has to end with everything all good and dandy, and with the readers hopefully having like a, you know, when it's over. That's what I want, and that's what I'm going to try to do. As for before the big Ganglion base raid, I don't know. That's the big Oblivia mission that they're going to do. They're going to go to a Ganglion base and destroy it. Once again, I will just see. And finally, here's the new review from Cormac Ravenstaff on Chapter 5, Interceptors, my amazingly long 8,000 chapter word story. Okay, he said that's a long chapter. Yeah, it's the longest one I've written in a long time. Well, I'm curious what Jay looks like now. See what Catwoman finds sexy. I think he has that confused. In Chapter 5, Janix meets Gabuid. Picture. She is the, what's the word? The second in command of the Rothians, a race of aliens on Mira. They're cat people, basically. Can't have a Japanese game without cat people. Anyway, and he has the line swapped. Janix, when I designed Janix, you know, because you have a character creator in Xenoblade X, I made to make sure that she looks attractive. I want her to be incredibly attractive. She knows she's attractive, and she like loves to not parade around, but like she's like, yeah, I'm hot, you know, that kind of thing. She's that kind of person. What it has me here, he thinks that Gabuid was the one who called Janix sexy, which, oops. Maybe I should have specified that dialogue better. Because it's not what happened. Janix finally met Gabuid in this chapter, in one of the early parts, before the horrible PTSD shit happened. And she's like, because she's heard about her around New LA, and she's like, whoa, I didn't expect you to look the way you do. You know, she was actually quite impressed. So no, it's Janix complimenting Catwoman, Gabuid. But yeah, that's flipped. Shit's getting real with Jay's mind. Yeah, it is. I really enjoyed this chapter, even though the length made it hard to sit down and read. I'm glad he enjoyed it, because I loved writing it. And yeah, I totally understand. Long chapters are... You need to have the time set aside to read a chapter like that. And not a lot of people do, which, it's something that bugs me a lot, but it shouldn't bug me. It's like, if I don't get reviews after I post a 20,000 word chapter, it's not... It can't all be because people don't like it or people don't care or people didn't read it. It's just because people don't have the time. And they're like, I'll read like maybe 2,000 words of it and then read it again later and then read more of it later until I eventually finish it, because it's a lot. So I understand that. To be completely honest, Corey Ravenstaff reviews every chapter I ever put up. And he's given me some of my longest reviews ever. And I love reading long reviews, just thoughts. Given this was an 8,000 word chapter with a bunch of stuff going on, I kind of wish that the review was longer. But at the same time, I guess he got everything out that he wanted to say. So I can't blame him for that, and I don't. I love reading long reviews. I can't expect everybody to leave a long review, because hell, I can't do that. Whenever I read something good, I want to leave a review, but I don't know how to detail it and word it, and it winds up being very short. Or I just don't leave anything at all, and it sucks. I always want to leave something to let people who write stories know that I really enjoy their stories, and I just can't. But yeah. So also Janix, I have full body reference shots for her on my Tumblr, and her head, her mugshot, I guess, is the icon for the story. So that's what she looks like. I guess that's it. That's all the reviews that I have, and Chapter 6 has already been posted. I love Chapter 6. It's beautiful. I think it's one of my... Just like Chapter 5, it's one of my favorite chapters I've ever written. So, yeah. This was a long video. Holy shit. No one will watch this, and that'll be fine. I wanted to do this out of... just... because I wanted to, honestly. And, honestly, I'll leave you with one more thing. I posted 2 videos of me playing Xenoblade on my YouTube channel earlier. One of me defeating Celestia and one of me pulling off a really long 8-minute overdrive with Cruz, or like almost 8 minutes. And on the Cruz one, I got a comment from someone saying that, whoa, I found the one guy who writes the best Xenoblade Chronicles X fanfic on YouTube. And to that I say, thank you. So, that's all. I hope you enjoyed my scattered thoughts. And I really hope that if you're watching this, you've read the story and you've enjoyed it, because there's a lot more coming, and I really think this story just keeps getting better. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written, so yeah. Cool. I'll probably do more of these when I get more reviews in a few chapters, who knows. So until next time, hasta.